misses like this, man. It's crazy.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Backlash Radio. It's Anthony Pino and Nick Carullo back here in Ocean City. Today, got me and Nick have my uncle Bill and Bill Lyall, captain of the Blackhawk. Is that an 80 Viking, Bill?
The 76.
76 Viking, and they're
Yep.
now based out of Los Sueños, and we're gonna do a little recap here of the first leg of the Los Sueños series and you guys' experience on the Blackhawk. Since you guys have been to Costa Rica and Los Sueños, which has only been this is your second season or first season?
So this is my first season here.
Mm-hmm.
We just got the boat here in April.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Cool. So, all right. Well, it was a really interesting tournament. I followed it pretty closely when I wasn't fishing. A lot of big swings, and you guys were probably one of the bigger swings certainly on the first day. You guys started out kind of slow, and then
we
rallied at the end.
We set them out. Now, right before we set them out, I was marking fish and bait. I was like, all right, it's going to be hot. We had a good day there the day before, catch a couple blue ones, and I don't know, 16 sails by noon, and we came in and we put them out, and it was nothing but 15-pound gaffers for 4 miles. And we picked them up. I made a 15-mile power move, and there was nobody there. And I was like, well, we're either going to get them or I just really screwed up. And luckily we started getting them. And
was that area with the gaffers the area where you pre-fished originally?
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Well, I had pre-fished up to the west, and then the day before the tournament, I fished the area where the gaffers were, and we had good fishing, and I couldn't get through the mahis. I mean, I tried. We didn't have our first. I think I picked them up at 9:40, and there was already 176 fish caught, and I was up there pulling my hair out. I was like, well, I'm making a huge power move here. And then we ran about 15 miles. Nobody was there, and put them out and started getting bit. We got our first bite at 10:37 in the morning, and it's like, all right, finally. And then they kept coming for the rest of the day. We ended up catching 23, and turned out good all by ourselves.
What I think you guys were as low as like 35th or something by before you even got your first bite. And what did you guys end up with on what place did you guys end up with on
on the first day?
Yeah.
8th or 10th.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, 8th or 10th.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I think there was 230 fish by the time we caught our first one that the fleet had caught, and I'm like, wow, I'm sucking. And
we were in last place on time.
So yeah. I got you.
Yeah. No.
So you picked up and you moved, and were you running to that spot, or were you just running to another spot?
I was just running to another spot that I hadn't fished all week, but I knew that there was a couple boats that were to the south, and I didn't know they were all the way down on the 50-mile fence, So when I got to where I was, the pocket area, there was nobody there. They were another 15 miles down the road. And, you can imagine, you haven't had a bite all day. There's been 220 fish caught, and here you are running 15 miles and there's no one there. It's like a little nerve-wracking.
Did something make you stop, though?
Best. Huh?
Did something make you stop there, or were you just going to stop there?
I just, I haven't, this is my first season here, and the guys have told me you can find them out in the deep, but to me, it's just been like, every time I'm out there, I feel like I'm wandering around in the desert. So I have to fish in structure.
Mm-hmm.
And I just ran down to where, I had fished maybe a month before that you can work pretty good, nice edge, and gave it a shot, hope for the best. Got lucky.
Uncle B, when you're an angler in that situation and you're just getting are you in that boat, or it's a long distance from the bridge to the cockpit, are you aware of what's going on, or do you just
Am I aware that there was like 170 fish caught?
Yeah, because I know that on the Blood Money, I'm aware when when we're not getting bites. And I know I understand the body language that comes from you. So Bill probably probably realized that halfway by 10 o'clock, but
he couldn't really see me.
Yeah, but can you hear that going on? You're like, fuck, we're in the
No,
right
I could
spot.
see it. I could see it on my phone.
Why are you on the phone?
Yeah, hey.
We weren't catching anything. What the hell else was I gonna do? Hey, let me tell you something, Anthony. But once he figured out when I was on my phone, about every hour and a half, 2 hours, I'd hear on my headset, "What's going on in the tournament now, Bill?"
Yeah.
So, and that was coming from the captain.
Right. Well, I wanted to know what was happening. I mean, I had my radio on pretty loud, so
we could hear the first day when it was happening and we weren't catching anything, we couldn't hear it on the radio. But later on, I think starting the second day, we could hear the radio through his headset. But not the first day. I might
have pushed my mic up because I didn't want you guys to hear what was going on.
I wasn't chatting on the phone. I was looking at the standings, trying to figure out if I could see any of the boats. Because the second day they found us. 4 boats found us. And I was trying to see, what they were doing as they were getting out. And I was usually doing it. We had 5 anglers fishing 4 rods. Okay, so somebody was always off, and when I was off, I was checking my phone quite a bit.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's a little bit more reasonable than what I usually.
Yeah, no, I was on the right long, so it was. I mean, I was on the right flat, so it wasn't really possible for me to check my phone while I was fishing.
I got you.
No, and I was telling Nick earlier. I said the first day I fished with Bill, he had the right flat line in his hands all day long, never put the rod down. And I told him, I said, Bill, I haven't seen anybody hold the rod like that in a long time. I really appreciate it. It goes a long way. And it's just like that effort makes a difference,
It helps. It definitely
really
helps.
does.
It was really awesome to see because we had never fished together. And when we put this team together, Garrett mainly called all the guys and got them all orchestrated, but fishing for a week together, by the end of the week, I mean, we were smooth as silk.
Yeah, Garrett was the only person. Garrett was the only person I've ever fished with on the boat, and I think Alan and Jason fished together a couple of times, but that was about it.
Yeah,
I had with Alan in the Dominican a couple of times, just riding out.
So who were the anglers on the boat?
We had Alan Sadler, who owns the Intense. And we had Michael Berry, who owns the Wicked Wahine, and Jason from Ace Marine, and Garrett was our pro, and me.
I got you.
So I had a Garrett on here too.
Pretty stacked.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
So how many days of pre-fishing did you guys get to have?
2.5, roughly.
I got you. Do you feel like that's a reasonable amount to get if you have the bites, like, because you're in that instance you're doing 2 things, aren't you, Bill? You're trying to find somewhere a little bit different than what's known, but you're also trying to get your people downstairs in sync with each other,
Yeah,
so, like,
I mean, more the merrier as far as the fishing days, but I think that for us it worked out pretty well because they ended up being really long days.
Mm-hmm. They are very long days.
And you're getting a lot of bites, so we all got into a groove really quick. Like I said, by the end, even by the first day of the tournament, I mean, everything was going super smooth.
Yeah.
All of us were like, wow, look at us. This is great. First time together, but everyone knows what they're doing. It wasn't anybody that was,
The only thing we really had to get down was the slider. Who was going to the slider, and we figured that out. We figured that out pretty quick, and after that, it was just like normal.
Did one of you two want to explain the slider? Because I have mixed feelings on that.
Go ahead, Bill.
I would let you explain it, Bill. I was telling these guys I haven't sailfished in close to 15 years. I was in the Caribbean in St. Thomas, fishing. We caught blue marlin. So the slider was but I like it, you know.
So the long rigger has kind of like one of those kite black clips that slides down to a clip, down to a like a crimp that holds it, and it's just below the long rigger clip, you know, probably about 2.5, 3 feet. So we're used to always going from, you know, you get bite on the left long, the right long goes to the left long, and that's normal. But then we would take the left flat and put it on that same halyard, on that same rigger line, on the left long rigger line, but there was a clip below it on a slider that would slide down to a pre-crimped position. And that would put both baits in the rigger going into the turn to keep the fish inside the turn. And then the guy on the right flat would go to the left flat. So all the baits would be fished on the side that the fish is being caught. And then they would pin down the dredge and pin down the teaser a little bit, but they wouldn't bring it in at all. So we were fishing a full spread. If anything, we cleared the right dredge quickly, but
the
not
outside
quickly.
dredge.
The outside dredge we would clear a little sooner. But everything on the left side, everything was on the side of the fish inside of the turn. And we did that on the Unomas, and it worked really, really well. And we did it here, and it worked well. So, you know, it's really cool. I like it.
In the clean window, you know, of water. And the only thing that we would really clear is, I think about halfway through the turn, I would start creeping in, you know, my outside teaser, because it was just flopping around over there in the white water.
Yeah.
And then once I got all the way around, did a full circle and get squared up, you know, clear the spread and back up and catch them. But it does put everything in nice, clean water and gives you the multiple opportunities for sure.
I got you. Yeah, I'm starting to see a difference in tactics when it comes to what to do in the turn. People fishing the outside rigger, or everybody loading up the inside of the turn and inside of the spread. I'm starting to see people approach that a lot more differently than a couple years ago, which is interesting to me, I find.
We didn't get anything following the outside dredge, and I don't think we ever got an outside teaser bite, but I do know that we had a fish or 2 or 3 on the inside dredge a couple of times, and we definitely had a fish on the inside teaser once. So
oh yeah,
it seems like the side that was loaded got the action.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And if they did come in on the outside teaser, you know, you're looking at the inside, because that's where everything is. So you catch them out of the corner of your eye over there. And then they're in the white water too. So it's hard to see them. See them roll over there once in a while. And it's like, oh, I'm already in this hard turn over this way. Am I going to straighten out to try and catch this one? You know, that's when I started just kind of bringing it in. Now I'd pull it maybe about halfway in. It'd be kind of, you know, the tail end of the teeth right there on the side of the white water. That way, if something did come, I wouldn't have to go radical to try and get it in clean water.
Yeah.
But
the only thing you had to watch out for was to keep the slider, you know, inside of the shorter than the long rigger, and that would avoid any tangles. But that was the only thing that we had an issue one time, I think.
When the two inside riggers were close to each other.
Yeah, when the slider bait went out further than the long rigger bait by accident, you know, it would cross over it, and that would be a problem. But I think that happened once on a practice day.
Any big tangles or anything like that at all. You know,
but that slider clip is on the long rigger or short rigger?
Yes, on the long rigger.
And how far below the long clip is it?
Less than 3 feet, I think. Isn't it, Bill?
It'll slide all the way up to the clip, won't it? Or
it will, but
to it?
I think Valley doesn't have enough weight to push it all the way up there. You know, it's only go up to what that bait is going to pull it up to, which is about halfway from what I saw.
Yeah. And then when you get a bite on it, do you slide the drag up and it goes to the clip and then it comes out it? Or like if it's on the inside of the turn, it will come right out of the clip there.
It'll usually come right out of the clip there.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting. only fished on a couple boats with it. It's a new concept for me.
But like I said, I haven't done sail fishing in the past 15 years, so I've only had about a month's practice, and I am sure enjoying it. I can tell you that. I mean, it's a lot of fun getting that many bites in a day.
Yeah,
and going
for sure.
I liked it. I've been having fun with it. It's different from what I've done for the past 15 years,
Certainly much more of a team sport and activity,
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the cool part, especially the fact that it was just none of us had really ever fished together. Well, definitely none of us had fished together as a team of 5. So, once it got down and watching it happen, the owner was just getting a huge kick out of watching the movement of the anglers. He kept saying that was the cool part,
Yeah.
That we didn't fish together and everybody knew where to go, and he was enjoying that, and definitely it helped, like that all of us had fished Costa Rica just on different boats,
Mm-hmm.
and
yeah,
there's very little difference, like you said, like you always say, Anthony, you always say you always want to know what these elite boats are doing, and you get on the boat and they're doing the same thing, just better.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with, the anglers that are as mad at them as the crew is, they want to see how many the most they can catch too. And they're going to give it 100%. When you do it, and you're getting bit, it's going to come together, as long, everyone wants to catch them.
Yeah. It always seems, I don't know, there especially it's hot as hell there, and you really towards the end of the day, and then there's typically a lull after 12 o'clock, and you're like, fuck, it's hot, and for guys to stay in it, people can lose focus pretty quickly, even if they want to be out there working hard. You can still lose focus and miss a couple fish, and lose 4 or 5 places, so it's important that everybody's kind of key. How integral are the mates? I know Garrett works on the boat, Garrett Penley, and then I don't know the other mate, but what's the other mate's name?
Jake and Marlin.
I got you. So yeah, Jake Flynn from the captain. He's the captain of the Wiki Bohemian now, right?
No, we have Jake from New Smyrna.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Sorry.
And he's good. He's up and coming. He's learning a lot. Learns a lot from Garrett. And then Marlon, he's fished a few seasons here, so he's good. And those guys, their workload is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
With the amount of bites that you're getting, just the amount of bait you're rigging and popping the fish off. Poor kids, all their hands were busted up from the swivels, and breaking line on the mahis. It's just all day long, or a couple bonita bites. Changing line, it's solid all day long.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Marlin is I don't know if you know him, Anthony or Nick, but Rufus Wakeman's kid, Marlon Wakeman.
I got you. I don't know.
Rufus is a legend down there, and in South Florida, and Marlon is his son, and he was awesome. And then very, very important, especially there, was our tower dude, Surrey. Man, he was a Hawkeye.
That was the most impressive tower person I've ever seen in my life. He saw every fit, just about. Then I would say 95% of them.
Yeah.
He would call them out on the long rigger, or on the left flat, or on the dredge, or on the teaser, and he would identify the fish every time. Sailfish. We didn't raise a marlin during the tournament, but he was on it. And that makes a big difference for the angler to know that the fish is there. You got the sonar, so I'm saying, hey, I'm working a double over here, and I'm getting ready to come over them. They're favoring the right side, blah, blah, blah. That probably happens 200 times a day, but not all of them turn bites. But when they did show up, this kid Surrey from the tower saw them every time.
Yeah.
And he saw them well before they bit, because the guys were like, okay, we're like, oh, we all look back and like, oh, sure enough, he's there.
Yeah,
so
it's a huge help.
It was very impressive.
Do you think it's a, you know, now with the sonar and you picking out, like, at least identifying the side, you know, he's kind of focused more on that side. So, you know, because especially in your 76 Viking, it's a lot for a tower guy to look at, you know what I mean, to try and notice everything. But if you give him a side to look at, he's more focused on that. Do you think that helps him a lot? Probably.
I think it does, because there's a lot of times I would say, you know, right side or left side, or he's coming underneath the left rigger right now, and he'd be like, okay, you know, and then, you know, 30 seconds or however long went by, he's like, oh, there he is on the left teaser, you know, and we were putting it together really well towards the last couple of days there. I mean, it was really very well orchestrated. I would see him on the sonar, he would see him on the surface. It was definitely gives you an edge knowing the fish.
It's gotta help. It's gotta help Anthony when he calls the side, because there were some times when he would call the side and Surrey would see just a little splotch deep. And you know, if you don't know what side he's going to be on, you're trying to scan the whole spread. But when he would say left side, you could tell that he was looking at the left side, and he would be able to see a little dark spot, you know, deep, and tell you that it's there. Even if it's not, you know, even if it's not coming, he'd say it's there, you know.
Yeah, he's down there. I saw some color, you know, a couple of times. That happened a handful of times where, I think we saw some color down there. And, you know, and then, you know, the last day they were eating the long riggers nonstop. But there's a few times where we saw some color down there by the dredge or something, and then they would pop up on the long rigger for whatever reason. So
yeah, because they follow you around for quite some time. Then you can at least do something. If you know that there's one back there, you can do something about it. Move the dredge, or, you know, sink a bait by the dredge or something.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was, like I said, so very well orchestrated between the sonar and the tower guy and the anglers. It was about as good as it can get, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Bill, do you find yourself with the tower guy and the, you know, having the headsets and everything, do you find yourself not really having to say much, in that once you raise a fish, it's pretty much the tower guy communicating, right?
pretty much. So what I was doing is, I'm so focused on that sonar personally when I'm fishing. I would tell the guys, you know, where I see the fish and where he went out the back of the boat to, left side or right side. And then I would start looking at the sonar again for other fish. And then I would leave it up to Surrey, and he would call them out. Or sometimes, you know, the guys would say I got picked up. But 90% of the time, I'm not really turning around and looking for the fish. I mean, I do by habit because I want to see the bite too.
Yeah.
But I am so into it with that sonar, you know, it's because I would see them and I'd be like, okay, we're going over one now, but I'm going to favor to the right because I see two more over there.
Yeah.
You know, I start working on those. So
if you marked a couple fish, and let's say you went right over them and you didn't see another fish out in front of you somewhere, would you turn back around on that double or something?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, unless here there's a lot of other stuff that you're marking. I mean, if they were deep, I wouldn't turn around. I would keep going. But to be honest, throughout the whole tournament, 3 days, I probably fished a 2-mile stretch of water the whole time.
Wow.
I found when I stopped that day after the power move and I found them, between my inshore and offshore tacks was about 2 miles, and I fished there for 3 days straight because every time I try and leave, I get bit again.
Wow.
It did.
I thought we were big eye fishing for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it was, but they kept coming. So, you know, on the last day there was 10 or 12 boats there, and I kept telling the guys, like, I'm not going to let them get in my spot, you know, because there is
he had a honey spot. He had a honey hole that he was protecting.
A honey hole, and I wasn't letting anybody in there.
Yeah, and
towards the day I ventured out a little off of it. You know, the fish had moved to offshore a little bit, but they held solid there. It was actually kind of, you know, I found it kind of weird that they stayed there for so long, but they did. You know, I stuck to it.
How many did you guys catch the second day?
Go ahead.
21. 21.
21.
Yeah, it was 23 and 21 and 19.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then, Bill, when those guys slide in on your spot like that, I assume they're the kind of the bigger names of the world. I mean, when you say protect it, you mean like make sure that they don't
aggressively, you know?
Like you have to.
It shorter, you know, or if I would just, when I say protect it, I'm not, you know, it just means fishing it aggressive. My my got tighter. You know, a couple of times I'd rev up the outside engine to turn faster, you know, or even, you know, just really staying honed in on that spot to where it made everyone else attack a little harder. Whether or not it worked or not, I don't know. But in my mind, I was like, oh.
Well, you have to
I'm gonna stay close to my little area right here, you know?
Yeah. You have to stick to what you believe, and if you have somebody else sliding in there, it's not like it's certainly not your ocean, but you know, it's I feel like just like where Nick fishes in Los Sueños and in Costa Rica during the whatever the Rockstar or the Pescador or the Triple Crown, I feel like it's all understood that there's going to be some rigor to rigor fishing and some people that are going to come and try to put pressure on you, especially, you know, on your spot if you're the one getting them. And I just think that it's all kind of understood as, you know, that's how competitive it is. And I think you deal with that a lot too at home, Nick. And I feel like sometimes up here in the Mid-Atlantic, you know, you get aggressive with somebody will get a little mouthy on the radio or something like that. And I just think it's cool that it's just kind of understood in those places that it's going to get a little tight, you know, and everybody kind of respects the aggressiveness, you know, and that nobody's really offended if you know, protect your spot.
Tournament fishing, right? That's what you're supposed to be doing, you know? So I thought it was a lot of fun, you know?
No, I think it's great.
It got in there, kind of became rigor to rigor. It became fun. Not as fun as it was when we were by ourselves, but, you know, it's like, all right, this is cool, you know?
I mean, I'm not sure how it is there, but like here, it's like, it's understood, like Anthony's saying, like if you do kind of make an aggressive move on somebody and hey, maybe they don't like it, they're not going to necessarily say some on the radio, but it's just like something like you keep in your back pocket where like, hey man, you know, I might do it to you pretty soon, you know? So it's kind of like just, hey man, you know, it's fine. You did that, but don't get bent out of shape when I do it to you.
And I don't think I ever cut anybody off. I was just staying tight to my spot. Which
the third day was really cool. The third day at the end in the afternoon was really cool because it seemed like, you know, there was about 7 or 8 boats around. There was the Goose and there was the Vaquero, and it seemed like everybody had their own spot that they were protecting, and they were all like a mile away, a half a mile away, 3/4 of a mile away. But everybody was catching them, but nobody was moving closer to each other. So everybody had their pot of fish. It looked like they were all working their pot of fish. That was really cool to watch.
It was, except that we went cold on our spot for 2 hours. I should have left it alone and went over there, you know, but that's part of the game, you know. They were there.
You slide away and then somebody else pulls right in behind you and catches a double. You're like, come on.
That happened. He got hot.
Every
he
time
slid away in a charter boat.
Or so somebody would go over that spot and catch a 1 or 2, and I'm just like, oh, you know. But it was a lot of fun. It was. I'm really looking forward to the second leg. I hope the fishing stays as good as it's been.
Yeah, it sounds like it's very consistent.
Yeah.
That's sick.
But Las Sueños is a beautiful area. It really
Go ahead.
is.
What'd you say, Bill?
I said Las Sueños is a beautiful area.
Yeah.
And, you know, coming from the Caribbean for the past 12 years, I've probably spent more time in the Mona Passage than anybody else I know. And like I was telling Nick earlier, I said, coming here and the flat water and the no seaweed is just a joy that I can't get over right now. I love it so much. It's just not to have to deal with that backbreaking sea and the seaweed. Oh God, the seaweed. Oh man, the last few years with the seaweed, it's just been like, you know, you're inventing crazy
You
things
can walk
on the
on
front
it.
of your dredge to keep the seaweed off, and you're shagging, and it's just, no more. Thank God. I'm happy.
Nice. Hanging your dredges for a few miles, waiting for it to clear up.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, started putting, one year it got so bad on the North Drop, we were putting funnels on our main line of the dredge in front of the lead to try and get the weed. It would come in there, it'd shag off. But my biggest trick I found was putting a bowling pin in front of the dredge. One of those bowling pins. And I would only have to bring it in about halfway. Well, as soon as that bowling pin broke the water, and the seaweed would go away. But I mean, being here in the Pacific, it's just nice.
What can you bring? What do you bring from your time in the Caribbean to the Pacific, Bill?
Well, I would say more when we were fad fishing, you know, on the marlins, just tax certain ways that I tack the fads out there, and even here with, like I said, I got to fish structure. You know, I would try and fish that edge just like I would a fad, being up current of it, you know, and looking more out up current and focusing my tacks up current of the spot that I was really fishing instead of just kind of wandering all over. And that I found beneficial for me, you know. Every night I would go home and I'd get on the computer and look at the current and, you know, the water and everything. And I would really focus my fishing style off of what I learned, you know, in the Dominican, fishing those fads, and even the North Drop. I mean, trying to stay up current of the main area I'm fishing. So there's a couple of spots here where the steeples come up to 100 foot, you know, from 1,000, 2,000 foot. So it's easy. And then down there where I was fishing for the tournament, it's a pocket where it V's together. Now it's just stayed up current of that most of the time. And it's been working out pretty well.
Yeah. You just think the fish are riding the current into that area, and you're just picking them off.
I think that they just stay up sea of the bait, you know, or up current. Because that's what you found in the DR a lot. We learned that a lot with the sonar. Like before the sonar, we would just what we call tack the rope. You know, the fad's here, and you know the current's going this way, so you know the rope's stretched out that way, and you would do your tacks up and down the rope. And then when you got the sonar, you found the fish sitting sometimes half a mile up sea, up current of the bait, you know, and they'd be far away from it, farther than you would ever really think about going. And they'd be sitting up there, just chilling out, waiting, you know, for whatever they're going to do, you know, swim down and get them. Who knows, you know, but definitely learned a lot with that.
Do you notice that when the fish when they're up and biting, like the fish have their face in the current? Do you feel that way? Or like I noticed last year, you know, I was running the sonar on the DAC, and I felt like when we marked a blue one and it was charging into with his face in the current, if you got anywhere near him, he was coming, dude. You know, where in other instances, if they were going a different direction, maybe they weren't actually a marlin or a sail, but it didn't seem like they were as willing to come and eat.
I mean, I think there is a lot to that for sure. Like you said, figuring out which way they're going. I personally probably need to get a little more dialed in on that. You know, I was getting really good at it in Dominican with the blue marlin, and here, you know, blue marlin fishing, but the sail fishing, it was been a little harder because they're more scattered all over, you know, up and down. And so you're marking 2 or 3 at a time. And you look at your sonar screen, you got 1 over here, 2 there, 3 over there. And it's just been a little, you know, I don't know if it really matters if you go over them behind them, a sailfish. I think they'll turn around and eat you anyways. But a blue marlin, you definitely want to cut in front of, for sure.
Yeah, they won't. The blues definitely, I never felt like they turned around.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But it's been fun, you know?
Nice. So the first day you guys made the huge move from 0 to 7th or 8th or 10th or whatever it was, and then you start out the second day and you go right back to that spot, Bill?
Yeah.
And you go.
Well, I went out, you know, you're allowed to leave so early before lines in.
Yeah.
I mean, we were leaving at I think like 5:30, Bill, right? And then
Uh-huh.
lines in aren't until 8. So, I mean, I went out offshore looking around. It looked
Burn
really
through
good.
400 gallons of fuel
Birds
before
and-
the tournament starts.
Oh
Oh
my
yeah, I
God.
was burning fuel. I was burning some fuel. And it looked really good. You know, there's spinner dolphins and birds as far as I could see, but I just had to get back to my spot. You know, even the third day, I was like, I stopped a few spots that looked really good. And
The
any
third
other
day you
day,
did. The third day you
I
did
would have
more
fished it.
hunting. The third day you did more hunting before lines in than we did the second day. I know that.
Yeah, for sure. Because I knew that the boats were going to be on us, so and it wasn't sure, you know. But something always calls to you. Go back to where you've been doing good.
Yeah.
You know.
Where
Just-
was Grand Slam in relation to you guys?
They were down on the southeast fence, about you're allowed to fish 50 miles, and they were down there real close to that. So
they were
probably, I
almost
would say
south of you guys.
15 miles.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah,
So I find it
far
really
enough I couldn't
interesting.
see them.
I gotcha. I find it really interesting that the 3 boats. I think that it was the Grand Slam, the Mama C, not the Miss AC and the Sea Angel, right? The top 3.
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
think Sea Angel was fourth.
believe
Okay.
too.
Fish tank was
Oh,
the
okay.
next.
Oh,
yeah,
Fish
yeah.
tank was third.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I find it super curious because, like, you know, for last year there was a lot of people that were talking about the not having a tower being a disadvantage, and years ago it was like, oh man, to go down there in Costa Rica you need like a Tar Heel or a simple fishing boat to compete. And then last year I felt like the last couple years it's just been these I mean, basically purpose-built private sport fishers that have everything on them. And then now this year it seems like the top 3 or the top 4 of the 3 were, or top 3 of the 4 were basically privatized, you know, charter boats. And it kind of, I don't know, I don't think it really matters, but I just wanted to get you guys' opinion on the boats and what you guys think
I would
does it
think,
contribute. I mean, you're running around in a monstrosity that blocks out the sun, dude. So
yeah. I mean, I would think that a little bit smaller of a boat could probably get tighter turns on the fish and get more of the drive-by releases.
Mhm.
You know, no, I mean that 76. That thing it's a perfect boat. I mean, I love that thing. So it fishes very, very well for a 76 footer. But I could see that a smaller boat could maybe get around on them tighter and get close that gap a little easier, I guess, without having so much belly. But
yeah,
I don't, I'm still learning with that too, but that's the only advantage I would see out of it,
I think it was. I mean, those captains are phenomenal. Those 3 captains that you're talking about are phenomenal. And I was talking to BC about it, and BC said that boat, the Tar Heel, which is now the Sea Angel, just there's something about it. That single screw, it just raises them like he's never seen them raised before.
Yeah.
He's been on some good boats,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, it's got to be the captains. Those guys are phenomenal. They because they're up. All those captains that we're talking about have been up there on different boats.
Yeah.
I grew up fishing with David Grubbs in Ponce Inlet, from 25 years ago. He used to own his own boat called the Heavy Hitter. And that guy catch a fish in a sailfish in a tulip bowl. I mean, he's phenomenal, The guy, they're just fishy dudes. They've been doing it forever. And I mean, they're just good, really, really good.
Yeah, and they've put a lot of effort in. The Grand Slam put a lot of effort in everywhere, but especially in that area the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I mean, like
and
David
Mahoney's just mad at him. I mean, he's going to get him wherever he goes. He's going to get him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, He's always caught a lot of fish, as long as I
Yeah.
can remember. I mean, forever. You know, even when he was commercial fishing, you know, he was probably one of the pioneers of dredge fishing. You know, 20 years ago, 18 years, however long ago. I mean, they were one of the first guys pulling dredges around. You know, and they went to Mexico every year. He's always caught a lot of fish everywhere he went. You know, he's just one of those guys who's like, if you see him, you know you're in the right spot. You know, and you're just hoping to keep up.
Yeah.
I hope
You
I
might
keep
not
up.
know. You might not know
Yeah.
why you're in the right spot, but you know that he's there, so it must be
Yeah.
something else. I hate
If
that.
I keep up with him,
I've heard you say that before, Anthony.
What?
We're in the right spot. Look around you.
Yeah.
Look around, you see the
And the
guys
funny
that are
part
there,
about
like,
it was you
okay.
guys, you know, I remember when Anthony we would show up at a spot, and you know, Anthony wasn't talking to the other 3 boats that were in that spot, and he's like, how the hell do we all end up in that same spot, you know?
Yeah. That happened a lot the last couple
That
of years.
happened a lot a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
At least now, I felt like back in the day, I would just follow those guys and I'd be like, all right, well, I'm in the right spot, but I never knew why. And that's just a recipe for just getting your ass kicked. Like if if you're just like, oh, all the best boats in town are here, and you're like, all right, well, this might be a good spot, and then everybody puts them in gear and the line's going, and you're just like, fuck, I might as well be in Never Land because this is not going to work out.
Well, that's how I felt after I made that power move and I was all by myself. And I was looking around like, oh man. I told these guys, I said, well, we're either going to be a hero or, you know, we're going to suck. We're going to suck real bad.
Dude, I don't know if I try to follow this tournament pretty closely, but I don't know if when it's mostly sail fishing that I've seen a boat make a move quite like that where it's all on sailfish. With the marlins, I've seen crazy shit, especially with the little stripies. Couple, I guess that's 6-8 years ago now, Goldie, but that, but that was pretty cool, man. And did you, when you were running along, Bill, did you see like free jumpers, or you were just running back to your spot that you knew?
Well, I was running mainly because I knew that those guys were down there somewhere. I just didn't realize they were all the way down there.
Yeah.
So I was looking, I actually passed a couple other boats, and I was like, I had in my mind that area that I wanted to fish because I knew that I could fish it the way, like I was talking about, fish it up current and back and forth, and actually feel like I was fishing something instead of just trolling down the edge, you know? So I ran right to it. And I told myself, I'm not stopping before I get there, because usually I'll stop a few miles before I get somewhere. Then I'm kicking myself because it feels like it takes forever to get there. So I just kept going. I got right to it. I put them out and just got lucky. I mean, they got hot for us there. I think we caught 23 that day. We caught 23 the first day. So,
and did people find where you were, or were you able to keep it to yourself most of the day?
Well,
the first
day I think one boat
day
came in us on the afternoon, and then when we got back to the dock, we were all the captains were talking to each other for the most part, you know.
Yeah.
So I told them I told them where I was, you know, and the rest from there. I mean, the second day there was only 1 or 2, 3 boats there, and then the last day is when you got crowded.
Yeah.
So,
and it wasn't until the afternoon, the second day. You know, the second day there was 4 boats working it hard at the end, but the third day it was crowded from the get-go.
Yeah, and over the 3 days, everyone that I talked to, they all had a lot of bites. Didn't really matter where they were.
Yeah.
The guys to the west were getting bit. The guys farther to the southeast were getting bit. It's just a matter of having the team in the cockpit to catch them.
Yeah. What was the general consensus? Is it that there were, the bites were pretty evenly distributed, and some boats did better than others, or when it came to converting, or was there a handful of boats that had far and away more bites?
The latter.
I gotcha.
Yeah, probably
because down to the east of the fence, there were some reports from some of the guys from Capos that it was really good down there. and it was just a matter of finding getting down there. But there was, I think I'm not positive. Bill could probably tell you more. I think the majority of the boats were down that way. So, you know, they were fighting for the fish. You know, more boats fighting for the same fish than we were where we were going, or up to the west of Cabo Blanco. There was only a handful of boats up there.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually it was more kind of evenly split. About half boats down there and half up to the west. And I had some people tell me that they got a lot of bites up to the west. They just weren't capitalizing on them. And, it just takes, for these tournaments, it just takes a team that is, working together very well and good anglers. And, luckily we have that, and really looking forward to the next 2 legs because, I mean, as long as we're in the meet, we should be, doing well.
I think the last practice day, Vaquero was 24 for 25 or something like that. And you just look at that ratio and you're like, yeah, if you're not on your A+ game, you're screwed. Perfect example is we had a hour and a half on the second day where we went 0 for 5, and we were 5 fish out of 4th. So that there you go.
Yeah.
We were nailing it every other part of the tournament, but it just took that hour and a half to kill us, going 0 for 5, 0 for 6.
And then the third day, we went 2 hours without a bite because
and they were getting.
I wasn't driving over the hungry ones.
Yeah.
I think the ones that were driving over have already been hooked, but that's all it takes. And the numbers start slipping quick. You're in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th real quick.
Yeah. And you can, I feel like they're like, just getting some bites isn't going to do it. You got to be in an area where that you're going to keep them coming, and that's probably the biggest, I don't know, decision, like a toughest thing to make a decision is like, oh, am I catching them as fast as the other people? Do I want to? Seems like the best fishing was down to the east, but there was a lot more boats there, so it was diluted with it. So it was obvious where the best fishing was, but were somebody like you guys going to go out and kind of find an area to yourself, which doesn't have the same amount of fish, but gave you could still turn into the same amount of numbers per boat, and I think that it's cool that you guys did what you did. I think it's cool when people stick to their guns and do their own thing and are competitive,
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're getting bit. You're catching 2 or 3 an hour. It's like, okay, this is good, and you feel like you're on par with the other guys. We weren't far off the first couple of days, even the third. But like Bill said earlier, the guys that were at the top were the guys that are at the top a lot.
Yeah.
So, you start hearing them crack them off, grand slam. You're like, man, damn it.
I mean,
because a lot of boats left him the last day and ran to us, and he stayed down there, and it was just one after another there towards the end of the day, and it was like, oh, well, that's good.
Because they must have had an insane last hour and a half or so, right?
Yeah. No, he started really getting them there at the last 2 hour and a half, 2 hours of the day. I was hearing grand slam a lot. Yeah. And I knew that a lot of boats had already left him because they had ran towards us.
And he never caught a marlin.
No.
Yeah.
He didn't.
Grand Slam never caught a marlin. The other top 4 boats caught. I mean, they were way ahead of everybody, but like you guys were saying on the Blood Money chat, it was a 4 or 5 boat tournament, until maybe Vaquero got hot and it started creeping up at the end. But Grand Slam did it with 84 sails. Everybody else had a marlin bite, which is 500 points. The marlin were few and far between, which was really aggravating because we were 3 for 4 on blues and 1 for 1 on stripes during the 2.5 practice days, and then never saw a marlin the rest of the
tournament. Yeah, we caught one every day of the practice day, and the last day too. The last day we fished, we caught it. The last 2 fish we caught was a double. One was a blue and one was a sail. And it was like, okay, this is
I
cool.
could use that right now. 600
Yeah.
swing.
Yeah, right. That's a nice double to catch. Like, okay, cool. That's why I went back there in the morning and it was mahi century.
Damn.
I mean, just great acres of big gaffers. It was just like, oh.
It was not quite El Salvador, Nick, but it was aggravating as hell.
Yeah,
And I kept trying to get
that's a tough
the
bite
edge
to
of
beat
them,
there.
to find the sails. I was like, if I can get to the edge of them, I'm sure that they'll start turning into sailfish, and then they never did. So I was like, all right, I'm out of here. Got to do something.
Nice.
And it worked out. So, gracias, adios, as they say, right?
Yeah, man. I think you guys for the first tournament, I think you guys put on a heck of a show. You know, I feel like sometimes in those tournaments, people need a couple years to get the wheels turning and everything. You guys showed up and started doing really well the first leg, so I hope it works out for you guys the rest of the tournament. I think
Me too.
It's amazing. I think you guys got a great team, and I think you guys could probably do some damage here.
I know we got a great team, you know, so it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. And, you know, the main thing is we had a lot of fun too. You know, it wasn't like super stressed and everyone's quiet. I mean, I don't think there was a quiet moment all day.
Anthony,
really.
would have jumped. Anthony would have jumped off the bridge. There's
Why?
just no truth. Oh my God, dude!
Well, I would have just done the whole. See, Bill's just got to get in with the speaker and the one-way traffic from the bridge and the tower, and then you don't have to worry about the rest.
Yeah. Well, it was entertaining. It made the days go by fast. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of jokes told and just a lot of laughter. You know, we were all having fun, and I think that loosened us all up. You know, and the fish we were getting bit, and it's the way a tournament should go. You know, getting bit, you're having fun, and you do pretty good. You do okay.
Barry would get bit, Anthony, and he'd start feeding the right line, and he'd be like, 2 guys walk into a bar. It's like, dude, that's your fish, brother. You know,
and he would get them.
He would get them. He would get them. He would tell. He probably told 3 stories for 3 jokes for every sailfish he caught while he was catching.
I honestly thought he was going to run out on the first day, and then he filled the whole second day, and then the third, and it was like, wow, this guy's really got a lot of jokes.
But it really did. It really did keep it light. You know, the guys were having a great time, and
yeah. No, it was fun. I mean, it was, like I said, it was about as good as it could go. You know, besides winning, but we all had a lot of fun, and we got a great team put together, and I'm looking forward to the second leg. You know, I feel really good about it. I felt good about it before because even though we hadn't fished together, being in the industry so long, I've known about everyone that was coming, you know, and I knew they were all good anglers. So I was like, all right, let's do this. You know, like we got a real shot. So, you know, we got them right where we want them.
Nice. Right. I think you do.
Right?
Yeah.
Garrett's an animal. I'll just say that. Garrett's mad at him. He's an absolute.
Garrett's a great fisherman.
Yeah. He's a huge help there. He was our pro, Ant.
I got you.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Yeah.
He is. He's a great fisherman. I mean, that guy, he's mad at him. You know, he's doing it right for sure. So he couldn't be happier.
Nice.
You know?
Cool, fellas. Well, I appreciate the time. I think Nick and I appreciate the time. I think it was a detailed recap of the Los Sueños series. I think maybe this week we'll do another.
Win the next one.
Yeah, and then maybe we'll do another recap of the Operation Sailfish later on this week too, and then next month do another one. Hear from you guys.
Yeah,
again.
you know, I keep hearing that in February is the hot month, so maybe next leg we'll get in 40 bites a day, 50 bites a day. You know, they want to be like have more to talk about.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, boys.
Cool, guys.
All right, well, thanks for coming, man. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
All right, see ya.
Thanks.
Later. Bye.
See ya.